Hey, Chris here. I wanted to give you my experience of my first time driving a Tesla. So, my wife and I went to visit family and we rented a Tesla for 10 days and drove it around. And just so you can see, this is the Model Y Tesla that we rented. Ours was blue, like this one. Here's a blue one. That's pretty good. Here's a white one. Yeah, so you can see it's a normal sedan, but it's pretty futuristic. So actually what I have is some notes here, and this is in the show notes below the video. I'm just going to talk about all this, but the list is below. So basically it's the fastest car I've ever driven by far. I haven't driven many fast cars, but this car is amazingly fast. The acceleration it's instantaneous. Like, I've heard this before from people who've driven Teslas that, if you want to pass someone, you just pass them. It's like almost instantaneous. And I was thinking to myself before I drove one, I was like, yeah, what does that mean? Well, now that I drove one, I can tell you what it means. You just push the gas and you accelerate so fast, you just go past and around people. It's amazing. The dashboard, there's nothing on the dashboard except for a computer monitor in the middle. And I was wondering how I would experience this, but it was fine. Everything's on the screen. It's like a computer. It's like a computer interface. It was good. In the center console, they had space where you just lay your phone down and it wirelessly charges your phone. And there's two spots, obviously one for the driver, one for the passenger. That was pretty cool. I actually didn't know that my phone could charge wirelessly. Well, I've never really done it. So anyway, this was my first time doing it. The navigation was pretty good in the computer. So what we did was we actually took a drive. It ended up being like a 13 or 14 hour drive. And so we had to stop several times along the way, 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times to recharge the car. And the Tesla car, the computer, did all that calculation for us. So we said we wanted to go, 700 miles to a certain address, and the car itself figured out every stop along the way, and we just follow the GPS, and you just go where it tells you to go, and then you plug in, and then it tells you when the battery is full enough that you can continue your trip. Really pretty cool. And I will address that too. So just sitting there while your car is charging. Well, first of all, if you're at a supercharger, you probably almost definitely don't have to spend more than an hour there. I mean, within a half hour, you can get a really good amount of charge into the car at a supercharger. The slower chargers take a lot longer. Like, the slower ones are they're about the same strength as when people park it in their garage and they plug it into their home electricity. That takes like 10 hours to charge completely. So there are some charging stations that aren't superchargers that would take that long. I saw one was in like an apartment complex, and I plugged in and it said it was going to take 10 hours to charge. And I was like, that doesn't do me any good. That doesn't make sense. But the superchargers are good. As far as the drive, it wasn't the smoothest drive. And again, this could be just the specific car that I got, right? It was a Model Y Tesla, but the shock absorption was not that great. Like, it was, you hit a bump and it was like, you'd feel it. And if you hit a big bump, it was like really, like almost shocking. Like, you almost think you broke the car or something. So it was not a smooth ride. It wasn't terrible, but I guess it just wasn't smooth. So every bump seemed like a big deal. Okay, since I'm an audio guy, playing music was great because there's no engine noise. You still have the road noise from the wheels, the tires rolling on the road, but there's no engine noise. So therefore, the volume, the road noise and engine noise inside the car is lower. So you don't have to crank your radio as loud. Plus, when you listen to music, you can hear the music better, significantly better. So that was pretty cool. And we listened to some podcasts. We listened to some music. Now there's like cameras all over this vehicle, and sort of shows you on the screen if you're coming close to people. It's really interesting. Shows you the lanes. If you start to swerve out of the lane, it'll sort of like automatically like beep and bump you. Almost, it really will steer the car back into the lane a little bit. And also, if someone in front of you jams on the brakes and you're sort of coming up on them quick, it'll beep, which was really handy because, if you're ever looking at your phone, you're not supposed to look at your phone, but sometimes you have to, just for a second, look at your phone. So if someone in front of you jams on the brakes, it's really nice that the Tesla beeps. It's like beep, 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 and you have time to look and hit the brakes and everything. When we first rented it and got into it, since I had never driven a Tesla before, like we literally didn't know what to do. I didn't even know how to start the car, so that was a little weird. But it didn't take that long to figure out. And overnight, it lost about 7 to 10% of the charge, which was just again, interesting observation. And again, it was cold where we were, so the nights was in the 20s or maybe 30s. So I don't know if it was the cold weather that made the battery drop like 7 to 10% just overnight. But and it also had automatic wipers. You could put it on automatic or manual, but we tried to put it on automatic, and then it was good when there was some precipitation. The wipers would go, and then they would stop, and yeah, so that was good. So anyway, this was just a little first reaction, quick little synopsis of our experience. Overall, it was a good experience. I think another overall takeaway that I came with, because we were thinking about in the future potentially buying a Tesla, but I don't know. I mean, we might, but I don't know. And because they're so expensive too, right? The car we rented was probably like at least $70,000 or $80,000 car. And anyway, it's just expensive. So like our last car, we bought a used car, like a 3-year-old used car, so a very new used car with like 20,000 miles, and we bought it for $20K. And so that car is going to last us probably a decade, and we bought it for $20K. So like spending money on a Tesla, and then because then we'd have to get the batteries for our garage and to charge the Tesla, and I don't know. It's just it seems like a lot of money just to drive a Tesla, and I'm not a car guy, so I don't really care much, but anyway. All right, well, that's it. That's what I wanted to just convey. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Consider liking the video and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.